Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting?
Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It is going to be our second emergency podcast in 1 week. I thought we were going to maybe take a little bit of time off here, maybe kind of recharge the batteries before the Monday night game. Then you got the bye week. I was like, you know what, Ravens win 2 in a row. Things are rolling. Then we get a emergency pod for good reason on Monday with the acquisition of Mr. Roquan Smith. Now we are back in here on Thursday evening for a bad reason, running a little 3-man weave. My name is Jake Luke. I'm joined on my screen by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz and by Mr. Tim Hortons himself, Cole Jackson. It's been a while, pal. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, boys. Yeah, it has been a while. I mean, I get so caught up in the evenings with the baby that I can't hop on and record, but glad to be back and wish we were being brought together on better terms.
Yeah, no, and your tone and your sickness there. We might as well call this the Emergency podcast. You know, the little vitamin C situation. We were just talking about the how everyone's down with the sickness these days. But speaking of being sick over something, my friend Spencer Nathaniel Schultz is below us, and I think he has something prepared to open the show.
I have a statement prepared that I would like to read. I would like to now ask everyone to please raise your glass if you have one, and I'm gonna do a toast or a cheers here. That draft night brought so much joy. Lamar Jackson's brand new toy from Minnesota by way of Georgia. What's the point if you never use your soldiers? When you tweaked your groin, I didn't budge. When you came back, it made me nudge. 55-yard tutty in New York? What a bomb. That slant you housed? I hugged my mom. To our favorite podcast guest, next year will be the best. For now, just get some rest.
I'm going to be honest, that just gave me Mr. Deeds when he's reading his poems vibes.
That gave something. That was actually really good. I don't know what I was expecting there, but that was solid.
I'm gonna miss him. It sucks. It's horrible. To be honest, we kind of got a whisper. I had alluded to it on this podcast, and shout out to the sources. So Cole, Jake, you and I, the three of us, I should say, kind of had this. We knew this was gonna. We knew this was what it was a couple days ago, kind of before the deadline. We weren't 1,000% sure, but we were 100% sure. We were like, maybe. And what we basically heard was that they were waiting on a second opinion still. So we sat on that like good boys. That's what she said, because I don't know, not that we have any sort of influence, but wouldn't want to spoil the Ravens' funk. And I tweeted and was like, why are they saying that he's going to be out a couple of weeks right before the deadline? And it was because he wasn't actually going to be out a couple of weeks. He was going to be out for the season. So that leads me to believe that they were active on the deadline, trying to, swim something. And then what we kind of heard as well was that they just weren't willing to pay for what the asking price was. If Chase Claypool you wanted to get, you would have had to pay a first because the Bears' second would be more valuable than yours that you ended up using. So it is what it is. It really stinks. I'm going to pass it off to you guys, but I've got some more thoughts and wanted to get you guys input.
Yeah, no, it really does suck. I mean, like you mentioned, we kind of, we had a little bit of a buffer to prepare for this more than other people on, within the fan base.
It's not as raw for us because we knew this was happening a couple of days ago. So it already wore off a little bit for us.
Yeah, but it did suck to see that notification coming across. I was kind of holding out hope. Second opinion, like let's see what they have to say. And obviously nothing really came out of that. And he is going to be heading to the IR, done for the 2022 season. And it just sucks, man. And like the whole meta conversation today, obviously, and I've been taking part in it, of course, is the fact that they didn't do enough at the wide receiver position. Some people wanted them to make moves at the deadline. I was kind of so on that. I didn't really care. I'm fine with just going with Deshaun Jackson and whatever the fuck Andy Isabella is going to be for them. But just over the offseason, like they just didn't do enough. You were going back.
How dare you bring up his name on this day?
Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, going back to the offseason, we were talking even before Hollywood Brown got traded. I was like, just keep throwing darts at this position. They didn't make one move. And that puts you in a really tough spot, or puts Rashod Bateman in a really tough spot to have to A, be the guy that you need him to be, and B, stay healthy for 17 games plus. That was a big gamble, and now he's going to be out for the year. And that's sort of the mega conversation that we can certainly delve into. But for right now, it just sucks for him, the guy, who I think he still is the guy. I think he has the capability to be the guy. But like I said on Twitter, it is tough to be the guy from the training table. And that is what he is faced with right now. So 2023, hopefully going to be the year of the 7, coming back and becoming the player that we know he is capable of being. But for right now, it just sucks, man. It sucks for him. It sucks for us. He's one of our favorite players that we've had on this program, and he's one of our favorite players in general, I think, for what he can bring to this offense. So that's kind of that. But Cole, what's kind of your immediate reaction?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of the worst case scenario that we envisioned. We knew that the wide receiver core in 2 wide receiver sets was probably okay with the core that they had, but then you couldn't survive a Rashod Bateman injury. And I mean, I shouldn't say he couldn't survive, but they just didn't have the depth in place. And that's why even before the draft, we were talking about, George Pickens in the 2nd round, a couple guys in the 3rd round. Maybe if the right guy like a Drake London fell in the 1st round, well, you do it because it's the BPA strategy. And again, that was before the Hollywood Brown trade. And I mean, the thing that really sucks from my perspective is I think going into his rookie year, if you had Sammy Watkins at the start of the year, who until he got hurt actually produced and looked good, you were looking at a very legitimate 3 wide receiver set with Hollywood, Watkins, and Bateman. So that obviously didn't materialize due to injury. And then you get Bateman coming out this year. They're running a lot of heavy personnel. You're seeing the 2 wide receiver sets, but you're still seeing him produce. It wasn't like he was making plays. And like Spenny mentioned, the 2 big ones, that slant that he housed against Miami, like that was showing the type of player he could be in this offense. And then the injuries come up again. So it's just tough. It's tough to lose players like this. And it hurts that they weren't prepared. And it was kind of the fear that we all had. I know nobody on here is big into the primo positions and we win Super Bowls with wide receivers, but we all knew the risks that we faced having such little depth. That's just the reality. I don't think anybody on here, Purple Patrol or not, was ignorant of that fact. I think everybody knew it. So now we just have to actually experience it. And it hurts my soul very deeply.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely not that, but I'm also not 100% the other direction. Like, I think they don't value this position enough. And I think, I thought that the tide was starting to turn after 2021. You mentioned Sammy Watkins. They draft 2 of these guys. They draft 2 guys multiple years in a row. Doesn't work out with all of them, but they threw darts. Worked out with Devin Duvernay, as we're seeing right now. Not working out with Tylan Wallace, unfortunately. He was kind of your insurance for this exact thing happening. And yeah, that's just kind of where they're at. And so they need to find a middle ground, man. Like, this can't happen again. And I don't think they're going to let it. I think Eric DeCosta is very smart. I'm a big fan of his. I think he is smarter than to let this happen again. But I'd be curious to
last year, doesn't it? Where they lose the one guy, they don't have a contingency plan. And then what they do last year with left tackle in the offseason, they stacked 4 or 5 options, right? So, yeah. I mean, you just have to hope.
It's a thus is life. I was saying to a coworker of mine yesterday, and he was basically saying, like, he was new to the job. And this is a little sidetrack, but he's new to the job, and we're in the mortgage business. And it's basically as soon as he feels confident in his knowledge, he's about 8 months in. And I was saying, you did a great job on a meeting we were on. I can tell that your knowledge and your confidence are really starting to shine. And he goes, yeah, as soon as the mortgage industry crashes, basically. And I was like, well, that's what life is. It's just a big game of whack-a-mole. And a nice microcosm of that is what we always say on this podcast, whatever burns them, they double down on. And the offensive line burned them last year. So like you said, Cole, they doubled down on it, and it's whack-a-mole. All right, the offensive line is now arguably great, arguably elite, like getting into that conversation. And then this happens as well. And I just have a swirling dervish of thoughts. Like Devin Duvernay, like turned out to be so much better this year than I think 90% of people would have said. Having a guy like Sammy Watkins would have been awesome. What was our reaction when they traded Hollywood Brown? Like, that's not good. Like, there's just so many thoughts flowing through like all of this stuff. And it's just the white whale of Baltimore is the wide receiver position. And the irony of watching Bateman in game 1 and game 2 catch a deep bomb for a 55-yard touchdown and then house a slant beating angles. It's like it was like this weird moment of like, and I love Hollywood Brown. I wish he was still a Raven. I wish that everything worked out, and having him right now, even though he's already hurt, whatever, maybe it doesn't happen when he's here, maybe it does. But having him right now would have been fantastic. He doesn't want to be here. And then it's this culmination. It's like the two kind of biggest plays I can think that Hollywood Brown really made was like the deep bomb against the Titans in the playoffs. There's a couple of those deep bombs. And then against the Steelers, he houses that little comeback for Trace McSorley. And it's like Bateman made both of those plays in consecutive weeks. So it was like, oh my God, like he could be even better than Hollywood.
That touchdown against the Dolphins, that was like, and we're going to talk about this guy. That was like prime Odell Beckham 2016 shit. Like just splitting the safeties, housing.
There are not that many players in the NFL. And I don't mean there's only 5, but there's not 30 guys that can house a slant at where defenders were for the Dolphins there. He's Bateman, if you go look on next gen stats, and this stuff always comes with a grain of salt, but it's like he's still number 3 in yards after the catch over expectation. And then we saw that against the Bengals, even after the injury, he busts out and whips up the field and all that stuff. It's just wild.
Yeah, it is. It's I don't know, man. That's why I'm not going to give up hope. I mean, he had injury issues last year, but he came back looking every bit as strong through the first couple of weeks here. And then obviously the offense went in the tank a little bit, but he got hurt. They rushed him back for that Thursday night game ostensibly. And then here you are. And it's down to, we mentioned Duvernay, who we love, who's doing a great job, but it's down to him. I guess Deshaun Jackson, James Prochet is going to have to.
Demarcus Robinson had a nice game.
I always forget about him. I don't know why.
I feel like he's a very streaky player. I don't know. I feel like he wakes up on the right or the wrong side of the bed, and I feel like that was the theme in KC. It's like, oh, Demarcus Robinson has 2 touchdowns in this game, or has like a deep catch and a touchdown, or it's like, oh, he kind of just was there. Yeah. So between him, Deshaun Jackson hopefully at least gives you a deep threat. But I don't know. It just feels like I'm glad the Ravens didn't overpay at the deadline. I'm angry that they played Rashod Bateman last Thursday on a short week. I'm disappointed that they didn't ensure there was more depth in this. And I'm happy that Devin Duvernay looks really good. Those are kind of all of my emotions about this entire year of wide receiver at once.
Yeah, nobody could have predicted Duvernay was going to do what he's doing. And yeah, he's doing it in every which way too, which is great. He's very versatile.
There's a couple people out there. There's a couple people that have been banging on Twitter and whatever. And I'm not going to say I'm one of them. I've liked him. Me and Vaz have gotten into it. Is he a wide receiver 2 or not? I thought he could be a decent wide receiver 2 type guy. But there are people that are like, he's Debo, he's Debo, he's Debo, he's Debo, he's Debo. And maybe he's not quite Debo, but he's not a type of player like Debo.
He's not Debo, but he's not like it's like he's in the stadium with Debo. He's discount Debo.
He's not. Yeah. He's 3rd round Debo.
Sure.
And that I take a bunch of crap for saying Justin Madubuike is 3rd round Aaron Donald, all that stuff. So stylistically, sure, whatever. Duvernay's been awesome, but yeah, man, it's just I don't know. And I think that Bateman. This is where I'm at with this team right now. If let's say. And I don't know. I want to knock the Ravens for forcing Bateman to play on Thursday. I don't want to say forcing him to play, but allowing him to play is a better word to say. I don't know if that injury ever would have healed. Maybe he just needed surgery and was trying to fight through it. And they finally realized that after Thursday. Who knows? But I've lost my train of thought. I don't know. But this is what I was going to say. I thought if this team had Bateman, and let's say when you, Cole, and I had that glimpse of hope that maybe it wasn't true, maybe he was getting a second opinion, and maybe it was an 8-week injury, and it was not Liz Frank. which I've said Liz Franck for years, and I finally said it right for the first time. But
Frank?
I think is it Liz Franck? Maybe I was right. Everyone says Liz Frank. Whatever. I digress. If they had Bateman and Bateman was capable of being somewhat healthy, I really think this team had a realistic shot at winning a Super Bowl. There is something special happening with this team. I don't know how to tangibly say it or how to quantify it. I can feel it. I am a homer. I'm a Ravens fan. I can feel that there is something very nice going on.
They're rounding into form, and I'm gonna write about this. I think before the next game.
We could use a heater from you. It's been a couple weeks or a month.
It's been some time. I think I had the calling out Harbaugh after the collapses. So I'm feeling different, and I'm feeling
that was
better.
phase 1. This is phase 2, and you've probably got 2 more in you this year.
This is phase 2, and it's phase 2 in the sense that what did we talk about? First 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season. That's their tune-up this year, and it
was their preseason.
Did you see this Derek Wolfe clip that was going around?
I pertaining to the Ravens?
Yes. So he said
right now it's going around.
I probably should have posted it on Twitter or something. I saw it on Reddit. Somebody on Ravens.
Give me the gist.
So he was on, I think, some Broncos podcast, and he
is I think he's a radio show host in Denver on camera.
Yeah, and he said something to the effect of like, Baltimore, like, I liked my time there. I like Harbaugh. I respect the organization, but they overwork the shit out of their players. And he was basically saying it to the extent of like the Raven way and like working hard. That's what leads to all these injuries and stuff. But he was not here this year where they made all these tangible changes. And that is not representative of what we're seeing this year, where they didn't go all out in preseason. They didn't tune guys up. They just kind of saved that for the first 4 or 5
They let Ronnie Stanley rotate in.
Yeah.
And put it on in his court. And the only player that it feels like, from what we've heard and seen, the only player it feels like they've pushed a little aside from, let's say Bateman. And sure, Andrews ends up with a shoulder injury. He was having knee problems. Wasn't 100%. I don't really care about that one in that sense. He hurt something else in his body, completely unrelated. And is that a result of the knee? Maybe. Whatever. But Bowser is the only other player that I know. And Harbaugh's been open in press conferences. It's not like we heard some inklings of like that Harbaugh was like, all right, man, like you're good. Like from everything we know, you're good. So whenever you're good, are you good?
Yeah.
Like, are you good? But
it wasn't like a sticking point, but it's like we gotta figure something out here.
He was like, all right, come on, we need you here. You know, Houston's out, whatever. But so they get him back now. And your brother's in the comment here and has a marvelous banger of a comment as always. Need to go back to more conservative play style. Mikey Boy chimes in. No more going for it on 4th and 2. Win by running and playing defense. That's what this year is. So I still feel like this team is figuring it out and I think they have figured it out. I think that they have figured it out. And that is going to lead into rolling. And you can just feel it a little bit. The way the players are acting, I don't know. It's all stupid fan take stuff, but I think this team is better than meets the eye in many ways. And then that is backed up by, you can call it, your eye test versus stats, advanced stats and analytics, but DVOA loves them. PFF loves them. Like every EPA loves them. Every single possible thing. Things that are more subjective, like PFF grades, love them as a team. Things that are more objective, like DVOA or EPA, things like that, also really love them. They have played a gauntlet defensively. They have played the number 4, number 5, number 6, number 8, and number 9 defenses out of their 8 games. 5 of them have been against top 10 defenses in terms of DVOA. And I think Lamar Jackson is not having a banner year. And I think everyone's always going to wait for that 2019 stat line to resurface. It can't. He was with Peyton Manning's most efficient season. That was the only person that was more efficient than him, was Peyton Manning's most efficient season in his career in terms of passing, in terms of total impact, all of those things. The way he is managing the game is what has transcended him. The reason the Ravens should pay him is because he has transcended into someone that can manage wins and make checks and control. And that's why I was so happy to see the intensity that he brought on Thursday against the Bucs. And I don't want to discount Rashod Bateman. Obviously, I love him so much. I'm a fan of his. But they haven't had him in a while. Like, They haven't had him, and they're still winning games. So it's and sure, maybe it's just like 2020, but they have protection now. Why do these teams lose in the playoffs? Because the Titans push their shit in on the offensive line, and they drop a couple of passes and fumble and just have the jitters. And then the Bills, they have Fluker and Fluker and Phillips rotating. So they have enough depth where they, knock on wood, should be fine. I think this team wins a playoff game and maybe 2. Plays at least a close game in a second one. I still feel that way. They have so much time. They're playing a horrible schedule. They're playing arguably the easiest remaining schedule in the NFL. They don't play any other threatening quarterbacks aside from Burrow.
Well, PJ Walker, obviously.
We'll get into we're not doing a preview show right now. We'll get into it later, and it's 20 minutes in. We didn't want to go too long tonight, but maybe Andy Dalton,
Andy Dalton, PJ Walker, these guys are very scary. But other than that,
who knows, man? This team's freaky. This team's weird. They're used to, and that Ravens way, like Wolf's comments, it's like they're doing it during the season, and that's what I like. That's what I like to see. Yeah,
exactly. They weathered a storm together. They were 3-3 at one point in really choppy waters, and I
want to ask you a question. So we have Ty Doyle here. If Charlie Kohler is any good, whatever. But the rest of the comment, but. Do we see Charlie Kohler? I want the Jake take. Do we see Charlie Kohler? What is Charlie Kohler? And do we get anything out of Charlie Kohler?
I think we do. I think we do. And I think if he can stay healthy, I'm not really sure what was going on with the sports hernia thing, if they were just stashing him or what. But
I mean, they have 5 tight ends that they like.
Yeah. And it's like, what else are you going to do? Like, you can, Tylan Wallace, I loved him, but you can take it all away. James Prochet, I don't care about these guys at this point. Like, if you got to bring another tight end in that has the promise of Kohler, I'm fine with that, because
just win, baby.
Yeah, he can go up.
That's why I loved your brother's comment. It's like, your defense should be outrageous. It's starting to look really, really legit and sound. I would say that the best word to describe what we're seeing from this Ravens defense is sound. They are executing, they're communicating, they're limiting things. And so we have Momo in the comments here as we trail off. This will be the last kind of statement from me, and you can close out with whatever you want. But Momo says, I fear that the Ravens offense is going to be so easy to defend. And it's like, when I just went back and watched this Tampa Bay game, and I focused on the defense. You can find Money Downs Week 8. It's on my own personal YouTube, Spenny Football. I posted it on Twitter. It's pinned to my account. But watching what the Bucs did on third down, they basically went twins, 2 receivers on each side, and ran some sort of high-low where you try to put a defender in conflict. And they did it I think on every single passing third down they had was a twins high-low. And then they motioned Julio Jones on one of them late in the game across the formation and ran like a 3-man route concept. And it was the first time they did it. That is easy to defend. They have no run game. That is easy. Tom Brady made a couple of spectacular throws. The Ravens dropped a couple of interceptions. They're not that easy to defend, man. And like I said, Bateman's been out. They don't have a Stephon Diggs. They don't have the wide receiver. They don't have the white whale of Baltimore that's hiding somewhere in the Inner Harbor in that beautiful, beautiful water where fish are sprouting up left and right now. It's drinkable now, I hear, as well. But
yeah, you want to put that to the test?
Exactly. So, I don't know, man. I think this is truly a scary team to play in the playoffs. And I think Lamar Jackson's playing a different type of football. And I like the Roquan Smith trade. We love whatever. I think you were a little more indifferent than I really liked it, but
I loved it.
It doesn't. So you love it. They don't, it's just funny because, and one of the things that I like what analysts are starting to do is monitor how Vegas perceives things, because Vegas has guys. And when I say Vegas, it means that betting entities such as MGM, such as DraftKings, such as, all of these Caesars, they have people that are smarter than everyone that works at PFF, than me, than you. They actually get paid gigantic fat salaries because they make money. They are in the money-making business. And watching the way these trades don't impact lines on Super Bowl favorites, on things like that, is one of the funniest things. Bradley Chubb didn't move the Dolphins line. It didn't have movement. Roquan Smith, I don't think had movement either. Do you know what has movement? When quarterbacks go down. That is what Vegas cares about. And if you give Lamar Jackson time with their run game and what he can do in the run game, I mean, it's just fucking crazy to me that the 49ers have played in a Super Bowl and have played in an NFC Championship game and the Ravens haven't. Like, those two are both flying close to the sun in the same world. And say what you want about Shanahan and Roman, whatever. They have Ravens have a way better quarterback, and that is more impactful to me, regardless of what you're calling, than Kyle Shanahan is to Jimmy Garoppolo. So
that's an excellent point. Look at what the 49ers did in the playoffs last season. They go into Lambeau Field against one of these passing, high-flying offenses, MVP Aaron Rodgers, and you know what they did? They pulled them into their mud pit. They said, we're playing our game. The Ravens this year are Shaq in 2004. These other teams, these primo position teams, the Chiefs and the Bills, are Steph Curry in 2017. So if you're going to be Shaq, that's great, but you gotta bring Steph down into the post with you and see if he can bang low.
You got to foul the shit out of him.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to beat him. You got to beat bloody and damn him.
You gotta bring him down from the key.
And we know that Patrick Mahomes is Steph. So while we're on this topic, just veering off, what is Josh Allen? Giannis?
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
Or I think Lamar is supposed to be Giannis. Actually, that's been a comment.
Yeah, actually, that is the comparison. So I'd say he's probably.
I don't know.
He's not Ja. I mean, he's
too big to be Ja. He's too
I want him to be a 3-point shooter though, because it makes the point that it's like all the high flying passing stuff. Like,
is he Luka?
Those guys are. Those guys are the 3-point shooters.
Is he Luka?
Yeah, he's Luka. That's
all right. There we go.
He's Luka. So the Ravens are going to be.
There's how the season plays out. The Ravens have Giannis, the Bills have Luka, and the Chiefs have Steph Curry.
Yeah, and just like people said,
Dante Yates might have beat us, and I swear I didn't see your comment, Dante, but you're on the same page as us, Luka.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, if the Ravens are going to be Giannis, that's great. Giannis, when he won that championship, everyone said Lamar Jackson, you're next. So what you got to do is, like my brother said, like Michael said, play to your identity and make other teams play to your identity. Keep these games in the 20s. Don't allow teams to score 30 on you. Score 25, 26, 27.
Lamar can give Lamar a line, and he'll get you in the 20s.
Yeah, exactly. And then start to figure it out in the red zone. They got to start doing that a little bit better, I think.
I think that might be the key to the offensive season is becoming a top 5 or 10 at worst, but ideally aiming towards a top 5 red zone offense, I think is what unlocks this team. And that's why Bateman, what do we lose in Rashod Bateman that we know that the Ravens don't have is an actual separator deep. And Jackson can, if Jackson can give you 50% of that, 60, then you're okay in that role. And then you can play some things off of Jackson being on the field. We'll see. He's 36, don't want to set expectations too high. So we'll see. If we don't see him this week, which it sounds like we will, then we'll see him the following game.
And you got Likely coming on. He's going to help.
Spiritual smartass here. Kohler's a red zone guy.
Yeah, my God.
That is all he did in college.
Mr. Charlie.
You're very right about that.
Yeah, Mr. Charlie. He reminds me a little bit of Max Williams, where he can, get in space, a little stiff up top, but he can move, he can jump, he can out jump guys. You got to get him in the mix, I think. You got to bring him in, and I think he'll help you. And just go all in on what you are. That's what you said you were going to do before the season anyway. So if you're going to do it, you might as well just get rid of the finesse receiving option that you had and just.
And I'm just looking at this. I'm just looking at the Seahawks team, man. Like, I've drawn those Pete Carroll, John Harbaugh comparisons. I'm just looking at the Seahawks team, and it's like, do it like that too. Like, they're doing it the same way. They have Metcalf, they have Lockett. Sure, yes. I don't mean in that sense, but it's like they were not supposed to win 6 games this year. And Geno Smith is in a good situation. Does DK and Lockett make it easier? Sure. Absolutely not going to argue with that. But you need to out-scheme teams. You need to be who you are, to your point.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to look back at the end of this 2022 season and say they are who we thought they were. And I want the Ravens to say of themselves, we are who we thought we were.
This is a shout out to the leftovers. Know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly. That's what this is right now. Are you going to be who you are for the rest of the season? I think they are, because they got the schedule to line up to allow them to do that, and then you get into the playoffs, and that's always a litmus test, right? And you know what? I'm optimistic that they can make it work. Maybe I'm just a romantic optimist and a Purple Patrol guy at heart, but I don't know. Maybe it can work.
I think they win a playoff game this year. Super Bowl, crazy to predict them to win it at this point with this news today. So we'll see. But, the damn Tennessee Titans had a 10-point lead in Arrowhead at one point, and then hellfire was rained upon them. But, that game can go anyway if you make a couple adjustments. So I think that about does it. We hit the 30-minute mark here. We wanted to keep it a little short, and I think we stumbled into some fun euphemisms and stumbled into some fun kind of big brain takes that felt very cathartic. So glad we had this cathartic episode. Hope you guys did too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for listening. As always, like I said, we were supposed to maybe take a little bit of time away, but the content machine never stops, and we're going to be back at it, I guess, probably on Sunday, preview that Monday night game, which is going to be fun. It's really fun to talk about football and watch football, which we're going to do next Monday, and then you got a bye week after that, and plenty of time to chew on whatever happens. So hopefully we'll be talking about a 6-3 team, but we got a preview episode to do in between now and then anyway. So stick around for that. Follow us on social media. In the meantime, you can follow the show on Twitter at Podcast Beatdown. I am at Jake Luke. That's Louque. Spencer is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4 in the middle there. Thanks again, guys. We'll talk to you very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that.